Dina asked a question during the week. She sent me an email during the week and asked a question about how does acceptance and forgiveness fit into the Vedanta philosophy. Both of them are divine qualities. They're virtues. Acceptance and forgiveness are both virtues. Forgiveness is actually mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 12, chapter 13, and chapter 16 as a divine quality. It was Alexander Pope who said that to err, to make a mistake is human, but to forgive is divine. To forgive is divine. To forgive is not easy, especially if somebody has hurt you. Now, how we can learn to forgive and accept is by understanding. Because Dina is actually not here today, I'm just going to briefly explain what it is all about. And if you have any questions or clarifications, you can ask, and also Dina can ask next week when she returns. But it's important for us to understand human nature. For us to forgive, we need to understand nature, not just human nature, but all of nature. So if we start with the plant kingdom, it's really easy to understand. You know, when you go into nature, when you go into the bush or the forest or the beach or anywhere where it's natural, you feel at peace. It lends a peace. The reason for that is it's just being itself. Nature is just being itself. It's just expressing itself as it is. It's not trying to be anything other than what it is. A rose is a rose. It's not trying to be a carnation. A lily is a lily. It's not trying to be a daffodil. An oak tree is an oak tree. It's not trying to be a creeper. You know, it is what it is. Every plant, every tree, every creeper is just being itself. And that's why we love nature, because it is just expressing itself. There is no ego in nature. That's why we love it. When it comes to animals, we can appreciate and accept animals also, because they are just being themselves. A deer is a deer. It cannot be anything else. A lion is a lion. It's ferocious. That is its nature. A puppy dog is a puppy. It's cute and cuddly. Man, oh man, you should hear this rain. The rain is the rain. I don't know if you can hear it. I've got a pretty good mic, which is very centered, but it's raining heavily on this tin roof, and I can barely hear myself speaking right now. But that's nature. It is just being itself, and it's beautiful. When it's windy, you know, having moved up here onto a hill, I've learned to appreciate and make peace with the wind, because on the south coast of Australia, on the west south coast of Australia, it can be tremendously windy. But I appreciate it and accept it as it is. It took a little while, but that's what we need to do. It is what it is. We put our spin on what it is by saying, oh, I like the wind, or I don't like the wind. Remember last week we were saying anything that we dislike causes us stress. So if I didn't like the rain or the wind, I'd be feeling stressed right now. But there's no reason why we cannot like everything. As you evolve spiritually, you learn to like everything because you see it as natural, as nature. It is just being what it is. An animal is just being what it is. Plants are just being what they are. But when it comes to human beings, we find it a little bit more difficult to accept, appreciate people for who they are. Why is that? In animals, there's no ego. In plants, there's no ego. In humanity, unfortunately, ego comes in. This I-ness, minus, my, I, my, me, mine comes into the picture. All my likes and dislikes, all my preferences comes into the picture. I like you, I don't like you. Ego comes into the picture. It's actually just the mind. The mind comes in and spoils everything. So when it comes to accepting humans as they are, it takes a little bit of work, a little bit of effort. When we like someone, there's no problem. But suppose a person that we like, a friend, for example, someone who we really like, takes a turn, and all of a sudden they are letting out venom. They've turned against you. Suppose, let's say, use that as an example. A friend has turned against you and they are letting out they're like a snake, letting out all their venom. How do you forgive a friend? You know, they say it's easier to forgive an enemy than it is to forgive a friend. Because you have an attachment to that friend. To the enemy, you don't have the attachment. So it's more difficult to forgive a friend who has turned on you. Now, in that situation, you need to understand that every human is a complex character. Each one of us is a complex character. We have so many various thoughts, so many emotions, so many preferences. We use our intellect sometimes. Most of the time, we use our mind. And when we use our mind, we can be in awful trouble. It's okay. It's okay when we like things. But when all of a sudden we dislike something, that's when we have a problem. So when a friend turns against us, we dislike it, we have a problem. Do you understand where I am? We dislike that situation. They've turned against us. They're our friend. They've turned against us. We dislike it. Therefore, we have a problem. We only have a problem because we have the dislike. If the dislike wasn't there, there wouldn't be a problem. So now we have a problem and we have to forgive this person. How do we do it? By understanding their nature. What we are experiencing is just one aspect. It's a very small part of their personality. The larger part are all the things that we like about them, all the things that we love about them. That's the larger part of their personality. There is just one thing that all of a sudden we dislike, and that's their temper. Right? We dislike their temper. How do we forgive them for turning on us? By understanding that this is just a small part. It's an impulse. It is just an impulsive action. They have allowed their, I'm just using this as an example, by the way. They have allowed, and I hope it's an okay example, they have allowed their anger to build up, their frustration to build up, and it has just all come out. And you have copped it, fair and square. So how to forgive them? By understanding their nature. Their nature is a beautiful person. That is who they are. That is the climate of their personality. You know, the climate, this is a good analogy, actually. The climate of a person is who they are most of the time. Like the climate of Perth is fine weather, generally. In summer especially, it's warm weather, hot, beautiful. That is the climate of Perth. Then all of a sudden you get a storm. That is the weather. The weather is not the climate. Do you understand what I mean? So when it comes to a person, you have the climate and the weather of a person as well. So the climate of the person is beautiful. You love that person. But the weather comes along and there's a storm, an outburst. Do you understand? An outburst. How do you forgive them for that outburst? By understanding that this is the weather of their personality, not the climate. Does that make sense? This is not who they are. So we need to accept and appreciate people for who they are, their climate, the climate of their personality, not the weather. The weather is sporadic. It changes, but that is not who they are. Does that make sense? So forgiveness is a divine quality. To make mistakes, it's human to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody gets angry. You know, you may comment, make a general comment, thinking that it's a perfectly good comment to make. Or you might make a joke and somebody takes it personally. Your friend takes it personally. And your joke turns sour. It's just, so these things come and go. Remember last week we were talking about titiksha. Remember titiksha, that beautiful Sanskrit word, titiksha, endurance, patience, forbearance, tolerance, to put up with difficulty with pleasure. And we're not talking about the big things like Sabrina brought up last week. We're not talking about those huge things, just little things. Like the example that I'm using, the friend turns on you. This is not a big deal. This is a small matter, and it's easily overcome through understanding, through knowledge, by using your intellect and reasoning out. This is not who this person is. This is just an outburst. This is one tiny aspect of their huge, beautiful personality. So you can learn to forgive them for this outburst. It may take a little time, but you have to work on it. You know, there could be bigger issues. I'm just giving this example because I think it's an example that you could all relate to. There will be bigger issues, of course. Maybe if you like, you could bring one up for questioning, but suppose look, I don't particularly want to bring one up, to be honest, but I think you can work on that we need to accept people for who they are, and we can do this by right assessment. You know, it's an intellectual exercise. I mean, it's using your intellect, using your buddhi to see the person as they are. So when we rightly understand or rightly assess a person, like you would say, okay, this person is emotional. I understand. This person is emotional. I have to be a little careful that I don't say the wrong things. You know, you understand this person could take offense, right? You understand that. That's just one aspect. And then you say, this person is, you know, it's like trying to understand each person. Start with the people closest to you, your family. Understand each member of your family to the best of your ability. Understand that your husband has a short temper. Just an example. Your wife can be a little hysterical sometimes. Just an example. Understand this is part of their nature. Most of the time they are beautiful. Most of the time they are normal human beings. Then they have outbursts. And you get to know when those outbursts are going to happen. And you understand this is their nature when it happens, right? I'm in the right house, as my guru used to always say. he would always, and everybody would just laugh so much because he would say, my wife is irritable. I'm in the right house. Every morning, when she walks past the door at 5 a.m. in the morning, she would walk past his door. He would say, darling, can you get me a cup of tea? And she would say, get your own cup of tea. And he would say, I'm in the right house. If she didn't say that, he would say, I'm in the wrong house. Anyway, so you get to know the people that you are with, your family, to the best of your ability. And it may take a little time, but over time, you understand them completely. Like the back of your hand, you understand them completely. And when you understand them as they are, then you don't have any unreasonable expectations for them to be any different to what they are. Right? But when we don't assess, when we don't understand the people that we are with, the people that we're dealing with on a daily basis or occasionally, when we don't understand them, we have unreasonable expectations. And when we have unreasonable expectations, that leads to disappointment, stress, anxiety, all these various negative emotions. So it's very easy to understand people as they are when we put in a little bit of effort. I don't know, oh my goodness. If you can, I don't know if you can hear this rain. It seems to happen every Thursday at lunchtime, surprisingly. And believe me, as you evolve spiritually, you get more and more challenges. Life doesn't become easier. You get more and more challenges. More and more challenges come your way. We can't hear it. Who says that? Oh, you can't hear the rain. Good. This speaker is working really well then. So no, what I was saying is as you evolve spiritually, you get more and more challenges in life. That's why I'm saying this rain or this bad weather seems to come along every Thursday at lunchtime, just when we're having a class, to challenge me, you know, just to ignore it. Appreciate it. Accept it for what it is. And forgive it for what it is. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if it does. But, when it comes to human beings, we can forgive them for what they do because we understand it is just one aspect of their personality. It is not the whole aspect. It's not the whole personality. It's like when we judge a person, we can be a little judgmental, and those judgments are based on our likes and dislikes, on our personal preferences, which is just silly. What we are doing when we judge another person emotionally, when we judge another person, we say, oh, I don't like them. Well, I like them. Where it is just our emotions, our mind taking over the situation. Again, our likes and dislikes. We dislike somebody, we judge them based on our dislikes, which is just ridiculous. We're not seeing the people for who they are. So we have to learn to analyze rightly, right assessment, question, who am I dealing with? What is my partner's nature? What is my child's nature? What is this little personality all about? And when we understand them for who they are, we can guide them in the right direction. I'm talking about children here. We can guide them in the right direction. Okay. So acceptance and forgiveness, based on Dina's question, how does it fit into the Vedanta philosophy? They are extremely important in the Vedanta philosophy. They are essential qualities. A really good way to live life is to expect nothing and accept everything. Expect nothing, absolutely nothing. Then you won't have any disappointments in life. Expect nothing, accept everything. Forgive everything. Mark Twain says something really beautiful. He says, forgiveness is the fragrance the violet releases as the foot crushes it. I'll repeat that. Forgiveness is the fragrance the violet releases as the foot crushes it. So using my example earlier, the example of a friend crushing you, turning on you, and spitting out venom, that's crushing. The foot crushes a violet. You know what? A violet releases a fragrance, releases forgiveness immediately. So forgiveness is the fragrance the violet releases as the foot crushes it. So it's crushing the violet, and the violet is releasing a beautiful fragrance. That is forgiveness.